Welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Progress podcast. For decades, college was seen as the ultimate path to success, a golden ticket to the better future. But this year in 2024, that story has been starting to crack. With skyrocketing tuition costs, the rise of online education, and a growing demand for trade skills, more people are rethinking whether college is really worth it. If you've ever wondered if there's another way, you're not alone. So today, we're going to dive into the 7 biggest reasons why college might not be the right move for everyone. I'm here with my co-host, Ben, and I'm really excited to dive into this today with you. How are you doing, Ben?
Well, I'm doing great. So glad to be back at it here. And I am so excited for today's episode because this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. It's something that is always in the news with student loan debt. But then there's the bigger picture. Is college really worth it? And today we're going to go over that and we're going to answer those questions.
Sweet. I know this is a little bit of a touchy subject for some, and we might ruffle some feathers, but I think a healthy amount of debate is good. And if anybody that listens to this today and wants to chat more about any of this with us, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to get your feedback and your opinion on it as well.
Warning, triggering information here. It's funny when you talk about those things, whether it's student loans or the cost of education or is college really worth it, things that are American staples, it is very triggering for a lot of people. But we have to start thinking differently about how we're approaching things, especially in 2024. We're not in the industrial age. We're not in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we are in the digital age and things are changing right before our eyes. And we need to ask ourselves those questions, especially for our youth. It's one thing for guys like you and me who graduated from college 20 years ago, but we're talking about young people that are getting ready to go to college right now in 2024.
Yeah, it's crazy just thinking about how we're 2 weeks away from 2025. And how I graduated college in 2005. So it literally is the 20-year anniversary for me graduating this next year. I think, were you the same, Ben, or not to throw shade at you? You were a semester after me, right?
Yeah, 2006.
Overachiever.
I was on the 5-year plan.
Overachiever.
Yeah.
But thinking about how different even it has been from when we went to school till now, and think about where it's going to be in another 20 years, I can't even imagine. I can't foresee it being almost completely online at that point. I just don't know how the brick and mortar physical school system would still really have that much popularity in another 20 years.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not here to tell you that college is not worth it, or, there are going to be degrees and certain situations where it's going to make a lot of sense. There are certain fields, certain industries that you have to go to college to have a professional career in. Medical, be an attorney. Those are examples where you have to go to college. But, this old adage where, you're a success, this mindset or this attitude where you're a success or failure, depending on if you went to college. And by having a college degree, it's going to make you, X amount of percent more valuable in the marketplace. And, getting a college degree is going to make you more attractive to employers. A lot of that stuff's not true anymore, and it's changing right before our eyes.
Agreed. Very well said. So let's just jump into the first of the 7 big reasons why college might not be the right move for everyone. So what's reason number 1?
Yeah, so reason number 1 is the big one, skyrocketing tuition costs. So since 1980, tuition costs have increased by over 213%, far outpacing inflation. We have a buddy named Kent. I know that you're friends with him as well, who went to CU. Kent was a graduate at CU in the early 90s. And when he was there, this is how much things have changed. When he was there, college tuition was a $2,000 flat fee, and you could take as many classes as you wanted once you paid the $2,000. So whether you wanted 12 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours, there was no additional cost. It was a flat fee of $2,000. And the biggest thing right now is that this current system, the way that the costs are increasing, it's just not sustainable. More and more students are coming out with more debt than ever before, and they're living and working from a place of demand, and they're trapped in these, their student loan debt is trapping them before they even start their careers. In fact, Forbes has reported that in the last decade, student loan debt has increased by over $500 billion. And these aren't just numbers on a page, they have real world consequences. The analogy that I always like to use when it comes to the cost of education is the 2008 housing crash. Well, what happened with the 2008 housing crash? One of the big reasons for that was subprime mortgages, right? The reason that the subprime mortgages were so toxic is because it was so easy to qualify. So you had so many people getting into these mortgages because there were literally, you didn't have to qualify. If someone didn't have a job, there was a loan program in 2007, 2008. Well, you know what? Let's just say you have a job. You only make $1,000 a month. You know what? Let's say that you make $15,000 a month so you can qualify. And that's how these mortgages were underwritten. Things were literally made up. And so you had customers and homeowners that literally did not have the ability to repay the mortgage. So because credit was so accessible, more people wanted to buy. It drove the prices of homes up. And that's exactly what we're seeing in the higher education world. Credit, student loans are so accessible. There's no qualifying process. Anyone can qualify for a student loan. And because of that, the cost of education is going up and up and up. Well, what happened in the housing market? Homeowners had unsustainable debt. That's exactly what's happening right now in the student loan world. There's unsustainable debt, and it's not paying for itself. So all of that together goes into reason number one, which is the skyrocketing tuition costs.
If you guys are just curious more about student loans, feel free to also check out a recent episode that we did where we did a really thorough deep dive all about student loan debt and just why it is so toxic. So another trigger alert, other episode you guys can check out if you guys are wanting to learn a little bit more about student loans and just some of our perspectives on how toxic that is. All right, jumping into reason number two, growing accessibility of online education.
That's right. And you just mentioned it. Getting your degree or being educated online has never been more popular. There are a lot of online higher education universities out there that are a fraction of the cost of a traditional university. But then that's not all, that's not all that. You don't have to go to an online university to get educated. Think about all of the different learning platforms that are out there. Is YouTube a great learning center?
Yeah.
When I need to learn anything, I go to YouTube, and there's so much content on there now that you can learn just about anything. And that's something that our young people are going to need to take more advantage of, really educating themselves. Because when you do it through YouTube and when you learn how to self-educate, you can do it at your own pace, and you can do it literally instead of paying hundreds of thousands through a 4-year degree. Even if you're subscribing for things, I mean, it's at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, I feel like with technology and just the way that AI and so many changes that are kind of happening right now as we speak, I think what's almost the biggest skill set to have moving forward is really just to be as resourceful as possible. It's really the skill set of understanding just how to find the information that already exists as opposed to memorizing it, knowing it. It's a totally different way of how we do business, how we create, how we do work for a lot of us. Just being able to be resourceful enough just to know where to find and how to, leverage AI and some of these other tools. That's just going to continue to be the case moving forward. And I think that's going to kind of directly align with online education.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I agree with that 1,000,000%. And I have that conversation with my kids all the time. I'm not concerned with most of the time with what their actual homework is, because a lot of times the homework that they're doing is not really real world, practical. They're not developing any real skills from the actual homework assignment. But what they are developing, when you sit down and make yourself do an assignment, or when you learn how to self-learn, what I call it, you have to learn how to self-learn. Those are real skills that you can translate into the real world. And that's something that, looking back, I was not good at when I was younger, that ability to really kind of teach myself how to self-learn, but just being able to research, look things up, implement that stuff. You're a great example of that with everything that you've done with your YouTube and all of your marketing that you're doing online. Just think back to a year ago. You had never even made a reel before, a year and a half ago, and now you have some of the most professional looking reels and shorts out there. To think that you didn't even know how to do that not that long ago.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's definitely just the resourcefulness, I think, is just really, really important for everybody to keep in mind. I think it's definitely a skill that if you don't have it, it's important to start to develop and just at least be willing and, just accepting the opportunity to learn some of that stuff. A lot of people are kind of pushing back on AI and just, if it's one of these things that's just going to happen regardless. So you're either going to get on the train and go with us, or you're just going to be dealing with even a more uphill battle and just a more challenging time moving forward.
Yeah, I heard something where everyone is so concerned about AI eliminating jobs. And I've read a couple of different articles. It's not that AI is going to eliminate jobs. It's going to be the people that know how to use AI that are going to eliminate jobs for others. So that's why it's so important. You have to learn how to use it. If you're writing a script, if you are doing research, it's at your fingertips, but there is some skill involved in directing the AI to get you the information in the manner that you need. And so there absolutely is a skill with that.
So jump into reason number 3. So shifting towards trade skills and apprenticeships. So again, guys, we're just talking about, what are the reasons why college might not be the best solution, just understanding the shift towards trade skills and also apprenticeships.
Yeah, now let's go back, before the industrial age. That's when college as we know it became very popular, higher education. What happened? How did we educate people before that? I'm talking back in like the early to mid 1800s. It was apprenticeships.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
you'll see those in some old movies where, and how it used to work is you would have someone that was a master, and it could have been any field, a butcher, a tailor, a blacksmith, a businessman, and they would hire one or two apprentices, and they would show, and the apprentice would work for the master and get paid, and then learn from the master at the same time. And then after a period of 3, 4, 5 years, that apprentice, once they had developed those skills, would then go out on their own. And you're starting to see more and more of that. And what you do and what I do, I believe, are great fields to do that. And this is my question to young people. Would you rather go into debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and give up 4 years of your life? So not only are you not earning an income during that time, you're also not learning any job-specific skills. 4 years has gone by, and you're coming out of college with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt, or you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's option A. Here's option B. Don't go to college, and they go and work for you, a highly skilled real estate agent. You train them side by side. You compensate them. So you pay them. They're learning real life skills over the same 4-year period. They're not going into debt. They're making money. And at the end of 4 years, they're going to be highly skilled and ready to go on their own. And there are a lot of industries like that. What you do, what I do. I've talked about that before in banking. It's like, you know what? I should go hire a high school graduate and allow them to work for me. But, fields like HVAC, plumbing, a lot of these trade skills, those types of industries require and allow for a lot more apprenticeship. And that's where you can really accelerate your career and, your earnings as well.
Yeah, I think back to when I was first living up in Aspen. I was, kind of that 25-year-old range.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of buddies up there. I was building luxury homes at the time, and I had some buddies that were electricians, plumbers that were on the job sites with me, and these guys were all exactly what you're talking about, where they just graduated high school, went immediately into apprenticeships and journeyman programs for plumbing and electricians, HVAC, all that kind of stuff. And literally, I was the same age as them. This is 50. This is literally like what was it? Yeah, like 15, 16, 17 years ago. They were already at that point making a couple $100,000 a year, just
Yeah.
as electricians, plumbers, and this is skilled tradesmen that had spent a few years as journeymen and doing these apprenticeships, and then they were already on day one when the college kids are graduating,
Hmm.
making 10 times what they were. So it's not applicable to every industry, but I think if you guys are unsure about what industry to go into and there's apprenticeships available, that could be a great option for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something, one thing that we have to get over is that our culture kind of looks down upon people and young people that don't go to college and they take this alternate route. And that's what has to change too, how we look at that and how we
Yeah,
value that.
1000%. So we'll go into reason number 4 that a lot of people choose or think it's probably better not to go to college. Just the diminished ROI on degrees. So the diminished return on your investment that you spend to get your degree, just how that is diminishing.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because there was a recent study by The Atlantic that found that 41% of college graduates are working in jobs that don't require a degree. Now, have you ever met a college graduate, someone who graduated from college that is working at a coffee shop or doing a job that doesn't actually require a college degree? I'll answer that for you, yes. Because there are so many people out there that are educated that are doing jobs that don't require a degree.
I would put your and my career in that same bucket. And, I didn't need to go to college to get involved into real estate. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's absolutely right. And same with me. When someone applies to the bank for uh, a banking job or a banking role, they're not asking about your education. They want to know what your experience is. What have you
mhm.
done? How many loans have you closed? What does your production look like? How long have you been in business? How many families have you helped? They're not asking, where did you go to school?
Yeah, and I would just say back on the scenario of not going to college and maybe going down like a journeyman, an apprenticeship type path. The key with that or with graduating from college is having a level of commitment um, where you're able to stick with whatever job you're pursuing. Don't have squirrel syndrome where you're just changing every year or
Yeah.
two. If you do that, you're going to be back at ground zero no matter what, regardless of if you went to college or not. So just being able to show that you have a level of commitment, you're holding your commitments to a higher level where you're doing it for several years. If it is the right path for you, just understanding that part of it, I think is important too.
Yeah, and you definitely see that a lot in both of the fields that we're in, real estate and mortgage. You see, professionals constantly going from one brokerage to another or from one bank to another, going from bank A to brokerage B to correspondent lender C. And you're absolutely right. When you're constantly changing like that, it is such a massive disruption to the career momentum that you're trying to build. So that's always my suggestion to, get it right the first time. Find where you want to work, a place that aligns with your values, your growth, what you're looking to build and accomplish, and then stay there.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's take a quick break before we move on to the final 3 reasons. Ben, do you want to take us to the sponsor?
Yeah, we have a sponsor today that I'm really excited to tell you about. Are you looking for a real estate team that goes beyond closing deals? At Adam Sells Denver, we're here to guide buyers, sellers, and investors with strategies tailored just for you. Visit adamsellsdenver.com for free resources or call 970-500-0252 to get started today.
Thanks, Ben, and thank you to our sponsor today. So, going right into reason number 5, the rise of entrepreneurship and the gig economy. I really like this one. Ben, give us a few pointers on this one.
Yeah, and the reason that I love this is it has never been easier to be an entrepreneur. You think about all the opportunities, all of the different platforms. You can be an entrepreneur simply by starting a YouTube channel. It's that easy. And there's so many, you think of someone that does Uber, they drive for Lyft, they are part of the shared economy. They do Airbnb. Those are all different forms of entrepreneurship. You can start an online business. And so it's never been easier to take on, and you don't have to have a college degree to start a successful business. Those are just the facts.
Love that. Yeah, I think the gig economy is definitely growing, like you said, faster than ever, and just a way to make money that really allows every individual just to be as creative as they want to be, and really find just additional sources of income. It doesn't have to be the primary source, but it's a great way for people to have additional income and side hustles. I think there was a really good quote by Mark Zuckerberg that you also had shared with me, who also is a college dropout, just saying how the biggest risk is just not taking one. I think that's very true in this case.
Yeah, it's a great quote, and the reason I like to reference him and so many other very highly successful entrepreneurs is, well, what are the rest of us told? I mean, we're told that we need to get good grades, graduate from high school, go get a good job in college, so we can then have a decent career. That's what the path to success in America looks like, right? But when you look at so many of these entrepreneurs, that's not the path they followed. Did Mark Zuckerberg follow that path? No, he dropped out of college. What did Bill Gates do? He dropped out of college. Did Elon Musk follow that path? No. So when you really start to look at the data, can you be successful going the traditional path? Of course you can. But there are plenty of paths forward to have incredible success without going the traditional plan. And that's always my way. And that's what you were talking about earlier. The biggest skill that you could have is learning how to be resourceful and identify and take advantage of opportunities, and how to follow up on them, and just even recognize them. There's so many people that have opportunities that are right in front of them, but because they haven't developed their real life skills, they don't even have the ability to recognize the opportunity.
And I think there is some life skills that are developed in a scenario like going to college, where you're out of the house, you're building up, just some independence, you're kind of finding yourself. There are a lot of, I think, other benefits to college outside of just the education piece,
Yeah.
Which could be a talk for another day. But I think, though, that was just something else I wanted to just mention before we moved on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And my counter argument is that you can still get some of that same experience, because I do agree that is valuable. And it's also important, developing that confidence and that independence. But you don't have to go to college to do that. There are other ways to do that as well. I would make the argument.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so reason number 6, the corporate shift towards skills over degrees.
Yeah, this is exciting because companies are really starting to finally value skills over degrees. You have companies like Google, Apple, and IBM that are shifting away, or they're starting to shift away from requiring college degrees for a lot of their positions. They're focusing on skills specifically for jobs that are in coding, project management, digital marketing. And a lot of these jobs don't require a 4-year degree. And so to me, that's very refreshing, because I always felt that I was a highly skilled, in some of the different roles that I've had in mortgage over the years. I've always felt that I'm very highly skilled in mortgage. But because, maybe I was lacking in, my education, even though I am a college degree, I have a college degree, there were others out there with masters and that are better qualified in that area. It's nice to know that companies are really starting to value how skilled someone is over what their education credentials are.
1000%. The couple times in my adult life where I've had to apply for jobs, other than asking if you have a degree or not, they're not asking where you went to school. It's a very short piece of the application process and the resume. And what you fill up the resume with isn't that. It's with your skills, the qualities that you currently have, what you can provide the company that you're trying to work for, the value you can offer, nothing to do with the education that you have from, what school you went to.
Yeah, and one thing that I love about my job is that I get to look at credit reports all day long. I review daily the credit report of the American consumer, and I can't tell you how many times somebody went back to school to go get that master's or go get a better or a higher degree. And they go and spend 2 years and tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars, only to go back to the exact same job they were doing before, or in the same field that they were doing before. I see that all the time. Like all the time.
It's just the lack of commitment, just people taking the easy way out at times. And I don't know, we'll go down that path on another episode. Let's wrap it up with reason number 7. So the lack of real world experience in this college curriculum that's being taught today.
This is a big one too. I remember I have a business finance degree, and my brother and I talk about this all the time. The things I was learning at CU for my business finance degree was college business finance. It has absolutely nothing to do with how finance really works. And I am not kidding. Nothing. They were using these outdated, pricing model. Nothing. Absolutely, And so you get this degree, and then you go get the real world experience, and it's totally different. And that's one of the big, that's one of the big shock moments for college grads. Well, I went to school, I got my degree, I got good grades, I read everything, and now I'm going into this field, and it's absolutely nothing like what I was expecting or what I just learned.
Yeah, marketing obviously changes pretty quickly. So some of the stuff I learned about how to advertise in newspapers and some of the success stories of door-to-door sales and door-to-door marketing, a little different than what exists today. Crazy.
Yeah. I know, yeah, that's great. And this is another stat that I found, but according to a survey by National Association of Colleges Employers, only 43% of employers said that college grads are well prepared for their jobs. That's almost 50% of recent college grads are not adequately prepared for their job coming out of college. And the reason is that colleges focus more on theory than on practical skills. And a lot of times these professors, they're not masters of the marketplace. They're masters of learning about people in the marketplace, but they haven't done the things they're teaching.
I think for business specifically, that's so important, learning from somebody that's walked the walk and actually, has a proven track record.
Absolutely. It's extremely important.
On the same topic, before we wrap this episode up, when we were talking about applying for jobs, I remember this other stat I heard recently about how, I think, I'm not on the exact percentage, I think it was like 25% of current job applicants have been recently reported as bringing a parent with them to the job interview.
And you know what? That's not the only thing. I've read and I've heard and even experienced the same thing happening with younger people going on dates. So yet you have a young man going on a date with someone that he asked out, and he's bringing his mom on the date with him. I mean, can you imagine that?
I can't think of anything more nerve-wracking than that. That I would be not doing well.
Yeah, or it's like the date is coming over to my mom's house so she can make us dinner.
Wow.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it is. Well, you guys, what a way to end this episode. I'm very thankful for being forced by it being the only option out there to ask girls out and invite girls to dances in person. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't even have, I don't think, email at that point. If we did, maybe we might have had AOL Instant Messenger towards the end of our high school when we
Yeah,
were going there. But yeah, we had
that
to
was
do
the
it the
big
old
thing,
fashioned
instant
way.
messenger.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, Ben, thanks so much for joining me as always today. That's a wrap for today's episode. College isn't the only path to success, and for some, it may not even be the best one. From that soaring amount of costs today to the rise of skills-based education, the world is definitely shifting. So if you're ready to take a smarter, maybe more strategic approach to your future, now's definitely the time to explore all of your options. So thanks for joining us once again on the Pursuit of Progress podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share this episode with somebody else that might be questioning their college path or maybe just trying to pursue their own version of progress. And you guys, if you want to be on an episode going into 2025, feel free to reach out. We are still looking for a few guests to have on our show. Ben?
If you want to be featured on the Pursuit of Progress, we'd love to have you. Reach out and we'll get it scheduled.
Talk to you guys later.